Hello friends, Masha here. I'm coming to you just in time for this weekend with a fun video where I will be sharing with you my very top tarot decks from my tarot library. And I will be doing this by the means of answering 21 greatly relevant tarot deck questions posed to us all by César from 78 Puertas YouTube channel and 78 Puertas online tarot school. So my today's video response to 78 Puertas will go under the hashtag Tarot Collection Top Decks, which César created for this community challenge of ours. There are 21 questions for me to tackle in this video, so without further ado, let's begin. And the first question that we have from César is, what was your very first tarot deck ever? It's a complicated question for me because I purchased two of my first tarot decks within like 15, 20, 25 minutes from each other. So the first tarot deck that I ever touched was in Tasmania in 2015. That was the Smith-Waite Centennial. It was sealed. I didn't see the cards of it, but there was a book next to it. I didn't buy it in that shop. I went to a different shop which was very, very close to this bookshop where the Centennial Tarot that I touched with the intention of returning back to the shop. So technically, when I went to that second shop, long story short, and we're only beginning, right? I picked up this tarot. So technically, if we talk about the first tarot deck that became mine, that I've purchased first, was this one. I made a tin for it. It's published by US Games, but this is the Russian Tarot of St. Petersburg by Yuri Shakov. Now, yeah, so when I saw this deck, it was kind of a sign for me, right, that the tarot may be something for me to explore, because the creator, of course, he passed away long before the, well, I think he passed away before 1950. Don't quote me on that, Yuri Shakov, but Yuri was the first name of my grandfather, and Shakov is kind of a play, almost like very, very close anagram to my grandfather's surname. So naturally, when I saw St. Petersburg, the city where I was born in Russia, and almost like my grandfather's almost identical name, I knew that, okay, that could be the sign, and I immediately purchased this tarot. As you can see, the card images are positioned inside this egg shape, which is very much reminiscent of Fabergé egg. And we see the kind of sort of mandorla, overly-like, egg-shaped frame here. And yeah, I have seen the original eggs of Fabergé in St. Petersburg as well, so it was a no-brainer. It was that kind of like aha moment. So of course I picked it up, and this tarot, the backs, is the first deck that I technically owned, even though I went back 15 minutes later, if that, and bought this one as well on the same day. Right. Question number 2 is, what is your most recent tarot deck? Now, the last one that I bought is the new edition of Besançon Tarot from Los Carabillo Anima Antigua series, but it will only be delivered in a couple of weeks. So the recent tarot deck that I have is actually my personal deck. It's only the Mage's only tarot, and it's this tarot I put together for my personal use only, and this is the tribute, Mages Only, as I just mentioned, deck to my living and departed beloved pets, my animals. And yeah, so the deck features the animals from my past, and of course my Cheppy. This is Cheppy as the emperor in near Colosseum in Rome, my living beautiful Cheppy, my doggy. And yeah, and this is of course Cheppy, my 5-year-old King Charles Spaniel, and this is Kuza, who of course departed, who passed away a few years back. But yeah, so this tarot is, for me, as I just mentioned, it just featured the animals I grew up with, the animals I had that passed away. And this is of course Soli, the kitten that I have, who is now 7.5 possibly months old, who I rescued in December last year. So very special tarot for me, of course. Cheppy again, because my Cheppy is the dog that I've had a few dogs, well, my family dogs, but Cheppy is the one who can perform most tricks. So he is my Il Bagatto. I put the titles in Italian. And this is my Cheppy, my current dog, and Soli in Venice as lovers, with the Cupid shooting at the third person, which is me. I mentioned in my previous video, because it's all about choices for me when it comes to the lover card, and it's an impossible choice for me to decide which animal to choose between these two. So yeah, this is my personal deck, is my most recent one that I received. I printed it through Make Plain Cards. Now, which tarot deck has the best colors? Well, okay, what we're talking about here, when it comes to the best colors, I will begin with the deck that I witnessed, right? I mean, it's an impossible tarot to imitate. It's the original of the 15th century tarot, and I will show you a few images of the very familiar reproductions, right? So we are here with Visconti Brambilla, and they are my pictures, so I can feature them, right? The pictures I took was very generous from the curators of the Pinacoteca di Brera in Milan to allow me to take multiple pictures, but this is the tarot that the best colors I've ever witnessed in my life, the best cards I've ever witnessed in my life. So it's a hand-painted, illuminated Visconti Brambilla, yeah, from the Brera, and this is my hand. You have to wear a glove. So yeah, impossible to imitate. Just have a look at those rich blues and foiling, and the craftsmanship behind these cards. But of course, while I do have a Visconti reproduction, and this is Visconti Sforza actually, so two Viscontis I've viewed in Italy last year. This is from Bergamo, from Accademia Carrara. But look at the greens, look at the blues, the richness of those colors, and the paper, everything, right? It's just so superb. So yeah, best colors, but we will never have imitation of this luxurious tarot. So from the decks I actually have the most beautiful colors, and this is a non-standard tarot that has the most beautiful colors, and this is Marco Benedetti's restored version of Giuseppe Mitelli tarot. Let's look at the colors. Because it's hand painted, of course, the colors are just, they're outstanding, right? And with Marco's restoration, this kind of gentle adjustments, these colors pop up. But again, this is not a standard tarot deck, and I do realize that this video is kind of pretty much about the structure of tarot that we are used to. So the other deck, the colors of which I like, comes from the Tarot de Results, and this is Ben Gross's version, interpretation of the historic Jean-Pierre Payen tarot in the larger size, in the deck with color coordinated borders, or suit coordinated color borders, if you will. My copy is number 2, very lucky I am with my lucky number. but for me, it's very easy to sell me on the color if you include cyans, teals, and turquoises. I just absolutely love those. And I think this tarot has those colors. They just make me happy. I do like burnt oranges as well. And so yeah, the trumps, the major arcana suit is pretty much like marbled borders. And then we are with color gradation blues for the cups, but again they do slightly change. You can see the more we go in the suit, the colors become darker. The greens are greens, and sort of like malachite greens are for the batons. For the swords we have burnt oranges, which of course progress again. And for coins we are with reds here, but yeah, I also do love purple. So for me, teals and purples, and I am sold. So this is the Tarot de results by Ben Gross. But also I have to mention, because I do love my purples and my teals, and since we are here with César's tag as well, I really love this Mages Only Jean Dodal Tarot. And this is actually César's work of 78 Puertas. Again, purples and teals, right? Teals and purples, turquoises. The colors just make me happy. I do like very much the fresh greens here as well. So yeah, when it comes to the reading decks, that would be these two, right? That I really like the color, because just more like my favorite colors are featured here. Because I mean, I love many decks and colors of many decks, but if you're talking about colors, I kind of wanted to talk about my personal favorite colors. Now to question number 4, what tarot deck has the best faces? Let's begin with Pierre Madenier Tarot. Pierre Madenier Tarot is known for being, well, in my books, the most beautiful type 2 Tarot de Marseille. Some people call it one of the most beautiful Tarot de Marseille, but the faces, they just so delicate, such absolutely exquisite faces that we witness in this immaculately and skillfully executed in woodblock historic tarot that goes all the way back to 1709. So yeah, Pierre Madenier Tarot de Marseille. But when it comes to happiest faces, so Pierre Madenier is the friendliest, warmest faces, but the happiest faces actually are from the German Marseille Tarot in Johann Christoph Hess. So here you see Johann Christoph Hess, and this is the version from Giordano Berti, from Rinascimento Italian style art. And just have a look at this fulfilled, delighted, happy characters, facial expressions. Every face has a smile, even the moon is smiling. And it's such a delightful tarot. I don't see it featured much. I mean, like some of the people I know who are very much into Tarot de Marseille do own it, but I think it's such an underrated historic tarot, and it actually goes back to around mid 18th century, 1750. So this one has the happiest faces. Now to the next prompt. For question number 5, we are with the question on the largest tarot deck. Well, you know, Visconti Sforza is quite large, and César showed Visconti Sforza in his video. The first deck that popped into my mind was also the one that César featured, and that's Les Tarot Noir by Matthew Hakiri. These cards, they're almost square, and they are absolutely massive cards. So if you compare, if you have a look, at my the deck that I created, my animal one, so it's in a plain card, bridge size. So just have a look. Have a look how massive the letter Noir is. But an absolutely stunning deck too, even though the cards are massive. So the art in this tarot I absolutely adore. And it's almost like mini paintings, the card. Like, look at, well, I'll just show you my hand. This is my hand, right? The deck is wider than my hand and just tiny little bit shorter than my hand. But absolutely superb, incredible, stunningly beautifully illustrated. Yet this is the only deck that really I keep complaining about when it comes to the card size, because also the cards are quite thick, but absolutely stunning, right? Gold gilded too. Now to the next prompt, that's prompt number 6 already, and this is the question about the smallest tarot deck, and mine is the Mamanyuki Tarot de Marseille. It's a Japanese reproduction, or inspired, very heavily inspired, mimicked by Pierre Modenier Tarot, by historic Pierre Modenier Tarot. The backs are adorable with those little bunnies there. But this is my tiniest one that I have in my tarot library. Again, placing it with the tiny little bridge card size, you can see. It's almost even like narrow by half. Yeah, so Mamanyuki, this tarot is really tiny. All right. Prompt number 7, what tarot deck has the best court cards? Now look, until 2 years ago, when it comes to the courts, my answer would have been Jean Dodal, Tarot de Marseille, and Jean-Pierre Payen, 1713, for the kind of best and those grumpy faces. Of course, I showed you Modenier Tarot, which I love for the warmer, softer faces. But if I have to pick one, for me, since discovering Jean Payen Tarot, and it's different from 1713 Jean-Pierre Payen, although the same family of card makers, it's a Jean Payen Tarot 1743. And this is my handmade copy by Agnes Copleur of Cartagram. So since I have discovered this 1743 Payen, it has become like my favorite court cards, because the faces are some melancholic, some are very honest and sincere, yet not overly grumpy. Yet I don't mind grumpiness, but yet they kind of that kind of blend of the softness and honesty and this contemplative look that I absolutely love. So that's the best court cards. Next, number 8, what is your most worn out tarot deck? Look, like César showed in his video 2 decks that kind of he won out, right, through readings or giving for other people to shuffle. The decks have been destroyed through their use. I have a relatively large number of decks in my collection, and my sturdiest decks, they just sturdiest decks that I have, they probably would be plastic, which are indestructible, right? So they're not worn out. And the decks like Jean Noblet or Pablo Robledo's Marcella that I have used a lot, they are not worn out. They hold really well. So the one that I can showcase as a worn out one is actually Thos Greeny, which I bought without a box, and I cleaned it up a little bit. It was from the 80s, I would trust, right? 1981, if not 1979, with borderless bags. Because also the edges, they were so dirty, I kind of had to clean them very gently, and then I edged the cards in gold, and I have to re-edge it again. But yeah, you can, I don't know if you can see, the cards, they don't really have that many blemishes, and I tried to clean it as much as I could, yet probably, I don't know if you can see, they are somewhat worn out around corners. But look, I love this tarot. It's very special, and I do love that that it has been loved and probably kept on a very dusty shelf without any covering for a few years. But nevertheless, it's not even half worn as the ones that César of 78 Puerta showed in his video. But it's my most worn out, one of the older vintage tarots that I have in my collection. And then to question number 9 about the most esoteric tarot. Well, look, Thoth tarot is pretty esoteric, but if I have to think of something even more esoteric, is the Tarot of the Holy Light by Christine Paintaula and Michael Dowers. But look, the colors are very vivid in this tarot, and the artwork is striking, and the massive amounts of esoteric symbolism that is packed into this tarot is like, oh, I mean, it gets over my skills. So yeah, it's a lot, right? And it comes also with additional 2 very chunky books. And I know it's loved tarot and studied by quite a few people in the tarot community. But goodness, that's a very complicated tarot for me. It's kind of on the verge a little bit being too much. But the question is, what's your most esoteric deck? So here you are, Tarot of the Holy Light. Moving on to question 10, we're almost halfway through. What tarot deck is the best one for shadow work? Now, going from the notion of a shadow self being composed of the parts of ourselves that we repress, decline, dislike, or hide from ourselves, shadow work involves the working with the unconscious mind to uncover what we may have repressed or subconsciously chosen to ignore, very often including traumas. And while I am aware that there are quite a number of shadow work decks available, well, specifically for shadow work, for me, if you talk about shadow work, it has to be a tarot I know best. And one of those tarots is my study deck, my practice deck, the deck I use for myself quite a lot, although not exclusively. But this is the Jean-Claude Lenoir's Nablet, one of the popular Nablet tarots among Tarot de Marseille readers, and most of you probably are familiar with this full version of Jean-Claude Lenoir's restored Nablet tarot. So if I had to choose one deck particularly to use for shadow work, as I mentioned, it just has to be the deck that I've practiced most with, that I know rather well. And Nablet tarot, it is for me, although like the dolls and païens come close, but yeah, Nablet probably would be my choice. Question 11, what tarot deck has the best back design? Now, I'm not very fussy provided that the backs of the cards don't feature a card from a deck itself, right? But I do have the best bag that's very special to me, and for me that's from the handmade tarot I have from Cartagram, from Agnes Kapler, and these bags have been especially made for me. You can see the layering, the texture, and every bag is slightly different. So this is my favorite because, look, I mean, because they were made by hand by Agnes so beautifully, and they're really exquisitely done. But also even more important is that Agnes drew inspiration from the ocean and the foam, right, of Australian Ocean, and I live in Australia. And again, having the kind of the tealy turquoise cyan shades with the splashes, like foamy splashes and gold speckles. I adore these bags, and they're just very unique. And yeah, so that would be, but again, I do love bags of most historic Marseille tarots and Italian tarots when they have some kind of pattern, like sort of like, you know, pattern that's repeated on the bags. Next question is number 12, and okay, what tarot deck has the best cardstock? Cardstock, look, cardstock implies to me not a handmade deck, right? Cardstock implies that was printed on a printer. So when it comes to what I understand by cardstock, what cardstock to me, undoubtedly decks from Giordano Berti, Rinascimento Italian style art. To me, they have most of them, right? I have the best cardstock. It almost feels handmade, although it's not handmade. Just listen to the sound, and the cards, they shuffle absolutely delightedly, and they're filled with lightness. And yeah, when it comes to printed on a printer, I don't think I've found a cardstock that beats this cardstock from Rinascimento Italian art for me. The only one that does, right, is the handmade paper, right, handmade cards, which we'll address in one question, right, question 14. But now, question 13, prompt 13 is, what tarot deck has the best soft, silky touch? I will go with the texture. Silky touch to me means textured cardstock where the cards, they slide and glide beautifully. And the decks from Artisan Tarot, they shine in this department because, like, well, I mean, they shuffle beautifully, right? They have this linen texture. Just showing the card a bit more visible. But also just have a look how beautifully these cards glide against each other. They slide, they glide. So one of those most beautiful cardstocks available from printed decks. And also similar one is from Zara. Pipsvik Tarot is one of the examples. Again, also linen cardstock, but like a kind of a little bit more micro linen cardstock, with the cards being able to glide and slide and shuffle and riffle stunningly. So yeah, soft silky touch answer, right? The nice linen cardstock probably will fit into what I consider by silky touch. And then returning to prompt 14, what tarot deck has the best sound when you shuffle it? And for me, those would be handmade tarot decks. I already featured this tarot a couple of times, but with handmade bags. So the sound of the handmade art paper that is done with the core, right, like two sheets of paper with the core in between. For me, the sound is the best. And then, of course, I did feature this tarot, again, the handmade Pierre Madenier tarot from Marco Benedetti. And I did have an extensive video recently about that. What's this one? Isn't that the best sound? For me, it's like music, right? Music, music, music to my ears. The sound of the handmade cards, and yeah, nothing beats it. If they're not handmade, probably Giordano Berti's decks get close, but not the same. Moving on to question 15, which of your tarot decks is the most misunderstood? And once again, here I agree with César, who explained it best in his video, which is linked for you, of course, below. That would be Thoth tarot. Most people I know, well, it's probably like misunderstood by me or by other people, right? Most people I know, they either love or hate Thoth tarot. I haven't met anyone who is like, oh yeah, Thoth is okay. It's either like Thoth is incredible, or no, I'm not touching Thoth at all. And it always puzzled me, especially when experienced tarot readers, they have such a kind of almost disgust, right, and resistance, and yeah, towards Thoth tarot, as I mentioned, due to most likely associations with Aleister Crowley. But even though this deck is complicated and I need to study it more, it's incredible. The artwork is incredible, the colors are incredible in this tarot. So yeah, I think just in general, it's probably one of the most misunderstood, yet really good tarots out there. Next prompt is, what is your most ancient tarot deck, or the most historical one? And it would be the Visconti Sforza tarot. And I just showed you a few images already from my own images that I took while I was in Italy. This tarot has become very special to me. Yeah, I actually did witness this card. But it goes back towards mid 15th century, right? So we're looking at mid 1400s, and it's one of the oldest surviving tarots, and that's the reproduction I have, although I do have a few 15th century decks. Well, Madrone, Visconti Madrone probably will be the earliest, but then Visconti Sforza is most complete, right? Other ones, they only had just a few cards, well, way less than Visconti Sforza tarot anyway. Not the focus of this video. Question 17 now. Which tarot deck was the most surprising for good or for bad reasons? And I'm going to go with the good. What has been the best surprising deck that I have acquired? And for me, my best surprise has been in the Visconti Homage Tarot by Marco Benedetti. So this is Marco's own handmade. I'm very fortunate to have this handmade tarot. Yeah, very, I mean, surprising. I did expect good things from it, but when I first saw this tarot, I thought it was like kind of simple. It's simplistic, it's minimalistic, but goodness, it's genius. It really is. And I didn't know that until I actually did have my own copy of this tarot. It's been the biggest surprise for me. It's such a fun, great reader, and it just really is superb. And I know a few people who have this tarot, they swear by it as well. So that's been the best tarot surprise I've ever had in the Marco's own Visconti Homage tarot. And I don't know why some of the cards are turned out. I use this deck a lot, so probably that's why. but look at the gold foiling, and then again talk about handmade cards with beautiful red backs. When it comes to my bad surprise, the decks that I dislike, I actually pass them on regularly, so I don't really have any bad surprises because they would have been gone from my collection. Okay, prompt 18. Which tarot deck has the best purchase history? For me, it's has to be, like, hands down, has to be a CBD Tarot de Marseille. And although it was published by Belgian company Cartamundi, I trust, I got it directly from Yoav Bendov because he sourced at the time when I discovered Tarot de Marseille in 2016 from him directly. And why it has a special purchase history? Because, well, firstly, Yoav Bendov doesn't have his name here in English. Bendov, you see Bendov here, right? And Hebrew, I got this deck directly from him from Israel, Marselskaya Tarot KBD, so it's got Russian and Hebrew, and yeah, here in English. Now it's published by US Games, of course, they're the backs. But many of us in the world of Tarot de Marseille, we probably know of the Tarot Revealed, or what used to be Tarot the Open Reading book from Yoav Bendov. That's one of the popular books and heavily recommended, and was the first Tarot de Marseille book I've ever had. But why this tarot for me has the best purchase history is because I did purchase it directly from Yoav Bendov, and we did exchange a few emails, and I knew that, like, I mean, he was such an intelligent teacher, but also such a kind man who sadly passed away very shortly after I acquired my first, and this is my first Tarot de Marseille, right? My first Marseille tarot that I've ever had. So yeah, very definitely special memories for me that are attached to this tarot and to how I acquired it directly from Yoav Bendov himself. Next, 19. What tarot deck do you always use for self-readings? It has to be, and I now utilize it in this pouch from my friend, from Anne, and for its handmade pouch, beautiful pouch. I did consider placing Thor's Greenie in this, but then the second copy of the Buddha Tarot came, and that kind of found Buddha Tarot found the perfect match in this pouch. I do have the older version, but this one, the images are larger, and that's the one that I've been using now for my readings. But yeah, that's the tarot that I use for personal readings. And it's my actually favorite tarot from Robert M. Place. And I find this tarot because I have such a strong interest in Buddhism, and I do partially kind of include some of the Buddhist practices, meditations, right? And I do follow Buddhist philosophy very closely too, not to just kind of go because there are different branches of it. But this tarot has been really insightful, and I love the big guidebook. And I wouldn't use this tarot for readings for others unless people are interested in Vajras and all the 9 jewels, all the Buddhism concepts and philosophy. Okay, yeah, so that's the self-readings. 2 more questions to go. Number 20 is, which is the most difficult tarot to be mastered? And once again, I am in agreement with César. It would be the Thoth tarot for me, because look, astrology is included in this tarot. I don't use astrology in my readings. Kabbalah is included, and I don't rely on Kabbalah, and I don't know much about Kabbalah. Selema too is in these cards with Hebrew letters I like because I used to study Hebrew, and all the astrological references. So it's a lot. It's a lot to this tarot, and this tarot itself is like the huge book to learn from. So I trust also it kind of it's one of those tarot also, I feel that it presumes, people assume that you need to master. There is kind of comes with that pressure to incorporate everything that is included in this tarot, right? As I mentioned, astrology, Kabbalah, Thelema. Yeah. Okay. And now we have reached the last question. Question 21. What tarot deck is the best overall? A tough one. Okay, let's have a think and work it out. What is the best tarot overall for me? If I could only choose one deck, which would it be? Now, it would have to be Tarot de Marseille, and yes, type 1 Marseille Tarot without a question. Then, for the best readings, it will also need to photograph well. So this tarot will have to be a clean restoration of a historic tarot with sharp, clean lines, neat stenciling, and vivid colors too. Given a prompt of the best overall, for me, this tarot will definitely need to be handmade and have that airy sound of lightness like this. And finally, given I would prefer type 1 Tarot de Marseille for my best overall deck, especially when it comes to the court cards, I would have to choose between my older favorites being Jean Dodal, Jean-Pierre Payen, 1713, and Jean Payen, 1743. Thankfully, I don't have to choose, and I have my answer in my most recent Tarot de Marseille Love Affair. So for my best overall deck, my most recent Tarot de Marseille Love Affair is this completed version of the Nicolas Rollichon Tarot, restored and colored by Marco Benedetti. And yes, I totally had to resist featuring this tarot in the earlier prompts. So now, what do we have here? We are here with beautiful colors, but my type 1 Tarot de Marseille requirement, tick, right? So here we are with type 1 Marseille Tarot, and with the extra bonus of the existing majors of Rollichon Tarot going back to not later than 1635. So we are here with the 17th century deck before the mid of the 17th century. So this tarot, the Rollichon, the majors, they predate the Payens, both Payen decks and the Dodal. So the majors are the oldest of them. And then I need a deck cleanly restored with neat stenciling and vivid colors. So clearly this requirements of mine also is a tick. Delicately handmade cards with delightful and ethereal sound. Tick. What about the solution of having the familiarity with my beloved Jean Dodal and my two Payens tarot that I just kind of featured briefly here? Well, because the original Rolishon sheets only had 35 surviving images, Marco Benedetti had to restore the rest of 43 cards, and for that, for the restoration, he referenced and drew inspiration from Jean Dodal and Jean-Pierre Payen and Jean Payen tarots, which of course we can recognize. If you're familiar with those decks, you can recognize in this, this is the original, in the court cards that I am kind of sharing here briefly with you. So the handmade completed restoration of the Nicolas Rolishon Tarot de Marseille Type 1 by Marco Benedetti is my perfect solution to the last queue of this Tarot Collection Top Decks Challenge. Phew. So yeah, this is my best overall tarot, which ticks all the boxes for me. I hope you enjoyed hearing my responses to César's 78 Puertas challenge. I, of course, have linked César's original video below, along with the original 21 questions in the description of my video for your convenience. Even though César did tag me to participate in the stag, invited me to participate in the stag, I would have done it anyway, because I myself find those challenges, the challenges like this, they are very helpful for me, inviting me to go through my tarot library and reflect on my tarot collection, and I had fun responding to César's great prompts post to us as the community challenge. And if you feel so inclined, please consider this my invitation to you to jump onto Tarot Collection Top Decks Challenge. And please do share your answers through either comments below, through video responses, or your Instagram posts. And I'm always curious if we do share any answers or any decks in common. Thank you so much for being here. Have a wonderful weekend, and I will chat to you soon.